Hello everyone and welcome back to a modelled writing video. So if you are new here, then in this video today we will be tackling task 2 questions for the IELTS exam. So the task 2 questions are the essay style questions. They are a minimum of 250 words and you have 40 minutes to complete these types of questions. So if that's something that you're interested in, maybe you are preparing for IELTS or you are not sure how to approach a certain type of question, then you've come to the right place. We will be looking at 2 different topics and types of questions today, and we'll be talking through them and discussing the best way to approach them and top tips along the way on how to score the top band scores, which is what we're looking for. So welcome, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let's bring in the first question then. So we're going to be looking at obesity. Definitely health and fitness and obesity, something to be aware of. This can come up in the exam, so it's quite a popular topic, so definitely something to be familiar with. Okay, this is the question. In many countries, people are concerned about the number of children who are overweight or obese. What are the reasons for this increase in weight? What solutions can you suggest? Okay then. So the initial thing that jumps out at me is this two-question approach. So we have a multi-questioned. This is 2 questions here. So this is going to tell us and highlight how we're going to answer the question. Now, a point to mention here is this is also reasons or problems and solutions essay. So if you've seen other videos that we've done on problem solutions essay, then you'll know we do this in a slightly different structure. So that is definitely a way that you can approach this type of question. For the purposes of today, we're going to look at this as if it's a two parts. So we're going to tackle the first question in the first paragraph, and then we'll head into the second question in a separate paragraph just for today. But also it's good to be aware that you can approach that with our other structure, and maybe you're aware of if you've seen our other videos. If not, check them out. They are good to be aware of how to structure the problem solution essays. Okay, so that's the initial thing that jumps out at me. There are 2 questions. Let's tackle them each in a paragraph. Okay, so once we've deciphered what type of question we're answering, what structure we're going to do, let's actually think about what the topic is a bit more. What are we going to think about? So we need to think about the reasons for this increase in weight. That's the first paragraph. And what solutions can you suggest? So ways to reduce this problem, things we can do. Okay. So now let's go into our plan. Planning is so important for every task 2 and every task 1 if you've seen our task 1 videos. So something to bear in mind, you have 40 minutes for this question. So you can spend, a decent amount of time, 5-10 minutes, really thoroughly putting together a plan, because this is going to help you no end in the write-up. So really, we do encourage that a lot. Okay. So then the plan itself. Paragraph 1 is going to look at the first question here. What are the reasons for this increase in weight? Okay, so let's just, and these are your notes, so you don't have to worry too much about putting together full sentences. We can just make notes here, so that's okay. No one's going to mark you for your notes. your plan. Not to worry. Okay, so reasons then, things that are springing to my mind. We are living in a sort of tech world that leads to more of a sedentary lifestyle. And you'll notice that this question does overlap with a lot of different health and wellness and fitness types of questions. So don't be afraid if you want to, your examples can be used in different situations. You can apply them in other similar topics. We don't have to learn different examples for each question. So I'm going to draw on things that I might have said before, and that's okay as well. So yes, tech world, sedentary lifestyle. Perhaps kids aren't playing outside anymore, therefore they are gaining weight. Compounded with this, I'm thinking about the sort of Western diets, sugary foods. Companies want to sell their products, so they pack them with sugar. We don't always know what ingredients are in foods. And another reason, so we're doing multiple reasons here, is that unhealthy food is cheaper or more convenient, or more convenient. So we can link this with the fact that more people are working. There's a cost of living crisis. So working people might pick convenient food like ready meals packed with solds and e-numbers, whereas families who are struggling to pay bills, for example, might choose cheaper food, which is also not always the healthiest. Okay, so those are the reasons. We've got 3 sort of distinct lines that we're going down here. And that's okay. We can work it into a nice paragraph altogether. So then paragraph 2, we're thinking of solutions. What springs to mind for solutions? So I'm thinking education. School can play more of a role in sort of nutritional and sports education, health education. We could think of government initiatives. I know in some countries and areas, it's encouraged to start your day with a 10-minute warm-up. I think it's Japan that has this initiative, and it's government pushed and encouraged, and it eventually just becomes, part of the culture, really. And the government can also help with making nutritional food affordable. So, fast food, for example, nowadays the prices have increased all around. So, fast food is not always the cheapest option. So the government can push healthy alternative options which are just as cheap as fast food, but perhaps people aren't aware. So we can definitely make nutritional food affordable there. Okay, so various solutions, various reasons. In our conclusion, we just want to say, restate what we've been talking about, many reasons, and then there's also possible solutions. So we'll just restate what we've put there. Bring that up a bit. There we go. Okay then, so lots to think about. I think that's a solid plan. We've set ourselves up now to write our essay, put it all together. Okay, so what do we do first, you might be thinking? Well, the first task we need to do is we need to paraphrase this first sentence here. So in many countries, people are concerned about the number of children who are overweight or obese. That's what we need to put into our own words. Now, we're not expected to paraphrase every single word because we don't want to lose the meaning. So, what we can do is simply paraphrase as much as possible while keeping the meaning there. So, in many countries, let's start off with globally. Globally, or societies, or many individuals. Oh. Many individuals are worried are worried about the rising trend in the younger generation. To be rising trend, to be gaining weight. To be gaining weight. Let's read this back. Globally, many individuals are worried about the rising trend in the younger generation. We don't need to be gaining weight. There we go. So always important to go back, edit, reread. It could make a big difference, especially in terms of grammar and spelling mistakes. They have a big role to play. Okay, so what are the reasons for this and what solutions can you suggest? So now we're just going to state what we're going to do in the essay. This essay will discuss the reasons for this issue, or the discuss why this issue is taking place, and also what can be done to reduce this problem. Okay then, so we've got our paraphrased first sentence. Then we move into our structure, what we're going to do in the essay. So now we are ready to tackle our reasons. Okay, so the first part is a multi-part, a few different reasons here. The first reason we're going to talk about is the sedentary lifestyle, and this idea that kids are on using technology now, and they're not playing outside anymore, perhaps so much. In today's world, we could start with technology is all-consuming. Technology is all-consuming, especially for children who were born into, from the youngest ages, they were surrounded, who have always been surrounded by it. This leads to the primary cause of obesity, which is leading a sedentary lifestyle. Okay, so we've set this up as a topic sentence. In today's world, technology is all-consuming, especially for children who have always been surrounded by it. This leads to the primary cause of obesity, which is maybe a sedentary lifestyle. Instead of playing outside, young ones are looking at a screen for a prolonged amount of time. Okay, so that's explaining the sedentary lifestyle. Now let's talk about the addition of the diets, which together forms this big problem. In addition to this, diets across the world, we can say particularly, and we're making sure our spelling is okay, particularly in the West, are we want to say are being saturated with sugar and salt. In addition to this, diets across the world, we want to say that this is just a natural, this has happened slowly over time. Things of, we're not touching upon what we're going to say later about the fast, the convenience and unhealthy food, but just in general, let's say in general. In addition to this, in general, diets across the world are including high amounts of saturated fat, sugar, and salt. There we go. Saturated fat, sugar, and salt. We can think of an example. Whole aisles in, or whole rows in the supermarket, maybe whole sections in the supermarkets are dedicated to sweet snacks such as chocolate. There we go. Now we can go on to the financial side to make this matter even worse. In the current cost of living crisis, families are drawn to the cheapest options. Usually, more often than not, these foods are the unhealthy option, such as freezer foods. There we go. So freezer foods are usually quite cheap. You know, you can buy a lot of things to put in the freezer. They're convenient. So yes, such as freezer foods. Adults are working longer hours. So convenience foods, which do not always state what ingredients they contain, become even more appealing. The combination of all these reasons, we can say, is contributing to this the rise in obesity. All of these reasons contribute to, so we're linking it back to the question, rise to the obesity, or to the child obesity issue. Okay, let's have a read of this. There's lots going on here. In today's world, technology is all-consuming, especially for children who have always been surrounded by it. Who, maybe we could change that, who have been surrounded by it, perhaps from birth. There we go. This leads to the primary cause of obesity, a sedentary lifestyle. Instead of playing outside, young ones are looking at a screen for a prolonged amount of time. In addition to this, in general, diets across the world, particularly in the West, are, maybe we could say, include high amounts of saturated fat, sugar, and salt. Whole sections in the supermarkets are dedicated to sweet snacks, such as chocolates. To make this matter even worse, in the current cost of living crisis, families are drawn to the cheapest options. More often than not, these foods are the unhealthy options, such as freezer foods. Adults are working longer hours, so convenience foods such as ready meals. I'm going to maybe remove this. Become even, so convenience foods such as ready meals such as ready meals become even more appealing. The combination of all these reasons contribute to the child obesity issue. Okay, so wow, we've really tackled a lot there. That's brilliant. Let's go into the solutions now, and we're going to do a linking sentence just to connect it all together. Despite many reasons for obesity in children, there are possible solutions that can be undertaken, or possible strategies to combat this that can be undertaken. Okay, what's the main way? Well, children spend a lot of their time at school, so school can take, the education system can take a bigger role in this. The best or the most effective route would be to utilize the education system to encourage healthy eating and physical exercise. For instance, canteen lunches would have to maybe they could change what they have on offer. So for instance, canteen lunches would have to have a range of healthy options. And snacks available. Okay, available. Great. So what about the government initiative, for example, 10-minute warm-up for the day? Government initiatives would also be very effective. In some countries, for example, it is encouraged to have a 10-minute movement to start the day. over time, it becomes embedded in the culture. So we're seeing a cultural shift here. And then we want to tackle the financial side. So on the financial side, with the increases in food costs, fast food is no longer as cheap as it was. Therefore, there is room to promote a cheaper, healthy food alternative. So in terms of, well, it's actually, that's a bit hard to develop that point. Maybe we could say on the financial side, affordable options should be encouraged or promoted. Affordable options for food. Eating seasonally. We didn't mention this before, but that could definitely impact the cost and make it a bit cheaper. Could bring down the costs of buying food. As well as having cheaper exercise options for children, such as free sports on a Saturday or something like this. Should we read this back and have a think about it? Despite many reasons for obesity in children, there are possible strategies to combat this that can be undertaken. I think that's okay. The most effective route would be to utilise the education system to encourage healthy eating and physical exercise. For example, canteen lunches would have a range of healthy options and snacks available. I think we can actually put in the exercise maybe with the schooling, actually, on second thoughts. So we could say something like, additionally, sports would be intertwined with the curriculum. Additionally, sports would be intertwined with the curriculum. Okay. Government initiatives would also be very effective. In some countries, for example, it is encouraged, or we've used encouraged, it is part of the day to have a 10-minute movement at the beginning. Over time, this becomes embedded in the culture. On the financial side, affordable options for food should be promoted. Eating seasonally could bring down the costs of buying food, as well as having cheaper exercise options for children, such as free sports on a Saturday. You know, I think on second thoughts, let's make this more succinct by saying, on the financial side, affordable options for healthy food and sports for children need to be pushed on a global level, so a global commitment. need to be pushed and actually need to be made a priority, in fact, on a global level. Okay, let's put this all together then. So, in conclusion, we just want to restate what we've been talking about. In conclusion, there are many reasons for child obesity, such as sugary foods. However, there are also potential ways to tackle this issue, this topic, by promoting or by including health and fitness in the curriculum. Okay then, so there we have it. We'll just count the words and make sure it's all okay. We're looking for a minimum of 250. Okay, so that comes to a grand total of 322 words. So slightly over the 250 words minimum there, but there is no upper limit. So as long as you have this structure in place, then you can just write as much as you can write or type as much as you can type. And that's it. That's great. That would be brilliant. Okay, so that is our first question today. We were looking at the two multi-part questions, so where we have sort of two questions here. So now let's go to our next task. And this question is going to be based all around museums. So maybe this is right up your streets. Maybe you really enjoy this topic. It's not as common, I would say, but definitely something to just be aware of. So we'll go through it today and see what we can do with this topic. Okay. Some people believe that museums should be enjoyable places to entertain people, while others believe that the purpose of museums is to educate. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Oh, this is jumping out at me straight away. And give your opinion. So it's an opinion question where we discuss both sides of the view and we state our opinion. Okay, so what are the two sides then? Let's just go back and really make sure that we understand what's being said here. Museums should be enjoyable places to entertain. That's one side. While the other side is museums should educate. So we've got entertain versus educate. Okay, so for this question then, we will do the first paragraph on one side. So say paragraph 1 about entertaining, and the other paragraph about the other view. Now we have several options for our opinion. We can either do a third separate paragraph and you can write your opinion. That's okay. However, I think it's more perhaps convenient or, yes, time saving to interweave your opinion into the paragraph itself. So, for example, if you believe that, I don't know, museums should entertain people over educate, that should be the primary purpose, then you would intertwine your opinion, put statements like, it is clear, I believe, it can be seen, to show your opinion through that paragraph. Okay, so it's up to you, but that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a 4-paragraph structure. And let's put our plan together and we can talk a bit more about this. So, I quite like with the opinion questions to put your opinion in the second body. And I think this leads to an essay which is a bit more powerful. You're ending the essay with the opinion, with the view, so it makes for a stronger argument, I think, especially if you're interweaving your argument into the paragraph. Then I think that's quite a nice way to end there. So for that reason, then I'm going to start with my paragraph 1, and I'm going to choose the side that I am not arguing for. So let's think. I think, well, both sides we could argue for. I think I've got more points to argue that they are enjoyable places over education. So let's start with educate then for our first paragraph today. Okay, so what goes into this education? People believe that the primary purpose of museums is to educate because children can learn about history, culture. They have a lot of museums hold important artifacts, that's a good word, from all around the world. So we'll use examples like the British Museum, and any examples you can think of at home. The British Museum, for example, has many, many artifacts from around the world, and I believe they are, we're in the process of, the museum is potentially sending artifacts, releasing them from the museum soon. So it's a way to learn about different cultures, parts of history. And perhaps another point could be not everything should be made for entertainment. There we go. Oh, and we're making sure our spelling is okay. It doesn't matter so much for the notes. Obviously, you're not going to get marked for that, but just in general, we're paying attention to that one. Okay then, so we've got our first paragraph, which is all about they should be used for education. Let's now go to our opinion and think about they should be there to entertain. So things that are coming to my mind, museums are family friendly. So you're thinking about children, and children like to learn in an interactive way. This keeps their attention. So they're more actually likely to learn if they are entertained. That's what we're going to argue. Keeps attention. They're more likely to remember things. I know that when I think back to trips, the trips that I remember from my childhood are the ones that were particularly entertaining or interactive or interesting in some way. So yes, more likely to remember. It helps with memory. And also I think it's, there's a lot of small print in museums that might be focused, towards the adults. So the kids have to have something to interest them. They can't be expected to read all the smaller points in the museum. Okay, then there we go. Not fair to expect young people to read everything. It's difficult. There's a lot to read sometimes in museums. Okay then, so our conclusion is going to state that yes, education is important, and we'll use examples to make this clearer. However, the primary purpose is to entertain. There we go. And we'll just note in our conclusion on our plan, because I think it helps us stay on track through, well, the whole plan helps us stay on track, but especially if we just want to double check, okay, what are we arguing? What are we doing here? The conclusion notes can really help with that, I think. Okay, so we have our 2 different paragraphs, our ideas for the conclusion. So I think it's time to go into the write-up. And here we have it. We have the question here, and of course you'll have your notes with you as well. We've got them on the previous slide. So I think we're ready to make a start now. What do we need to do first? Well, just like the last question, we need to paraphrase this sentence here. Some people believe, so we could say maybe groups have the opinion, maybe groups in society instead of some people, have the opinion, or maybe individuals, that museums should be enjoyable places to entertain people. It's tricky to paraphrase museums. There's not really an equivalent word there to keep the meaning, so we'll just stick with museums. That museums are required to provide entertainment. Oh, that's a tricky word to paraphrase. Museums are required to provide interactive and fun elements. Yeah, maybe we'll leave it at that. Interactive and fun elements, while others believe that the purpose of museums is to educate. However, others, different people, share the thought that museums need to focus on learning. Okay, let's read this back. Individuals in society have the opinion that museums are required to provide interactive and fun elements. However, different people share the thought that museums need to focus on learning. Okay, I think we've done a fairly good job there. So now let's write what we're going to do in the essay. In this essay, both sides will be examined and argue. Both sides will be examined and argue that museums should be entertaining. In this essay, both sides will be examined and maybe it will argue and the argument that museums should be entertaining will be oh, that doesn't sound so smooth. Let's have another think about that. Both sides will be examined along with the reasoning for why museums' primary focus should be on entertainment. So a bit of a longer introduction today, that's okay. Let's have a read. In this essay, both sides will be examined along with the reasoning for why museums' primary focus should be on entertainment. Okay, so we're stating we're paraphrasing, then we're stating what we're going to do in the essay along with your opinion. So straight away, we are making sure that we're answering the question there, which is brilliant. Okay, so let's start off with our first paragraph, and we're going to address the reason that museums are there to educate. So we can say something like, it is undeniable that a museum is integral for educational purposes. Okay, let's go into some examples here. That's our topic sentence, and now we can really get started with the support. Many important museums, such as the British, and we're using capitals because it's the name, proper noun. Oh, spelling. Many important museums, such as the British Museum, hold and preserve national and international artifacts. Hold and preserve national and international artifacts. And we could talk about the historical nature of a lot of these artifacts. There are also plethora, which means many. There are also a variety of exhibitions which are steeped in history and culture, which naturally lends itself to providing, we could say something like, to providing a rich learning experience. Okay, so we've described that they are educational for the reason that they hold many national and international artifacts, which have a lot of value for history and cultural purposes. Yes, okay. For this, with this in mind, we can talk about how this should be respected and not everything is made for entertainment purposes. With this in mind, some people believe that not everything should be made for entertainment, and what is being held by museums should be respected and learnt from. Okay, so we are just touching on the other opinion here. Let's have a read of it back. It's a bit of a smaller paragraph, but that's okay. The next one will be bigger because it's our opinion. It is undeniable that a museum is integral for educational purposes. Many important museums, such as the British Museum, hold and preserve national and international artifacts. We could add such as ruins from the Roman era, perhaps. There are also a plethora of exhibitions which are steeped in history and culture, which naturally lends itself to providing a rich learning experience. Yes, with this in mind, some people believe that not everything should be made for entertainment, and what is being held by museums should be respected and learnt from. Okay, and what is being held and what maybe exists inside museums should be respected and learnt from. Okay, I think that's a solid first paragraph, and that sets us up quite nicely to go into our opinion paragraph, where we're going to interweave the our opinion with the arguments as well here. Okay, so let's get started, and we're going to address the previous paragraph by saying something like, education is one of the purposes for a museum. However, it is clear the main reason, or the main motivation for a museum is entertainment. So topic sentence, laying out what we're going to do there. However, it is clear the main motivation for a museum is entertainment. Okay, so where do we begin with this? Let's talk about family friendliness, free admission. Families are coming out to enjoy their day, and museums know this, therefore they should entertain. Okay. So we could start with, museums are family-friendly places more often than not, with free admission. This is a this in turn provides families with a fun and less expensive day out. One which all the family should be able to enjoy. Which all the family should remember. So, okay, we're talking about how everyone should be able to enjoy them. Children, for example, are more likely to enjoy the learning experience if they are entertained. Oh, and we're checking our spelling as we're going along. Entertained. That is true for adults as well. Interactive elements aid with memory and passion for a subject. For instance, we could talk about the Science Museum. I remember being very interactive. The Science Museum is memorable. Memorable due to this aspect. Therefore, the public is more likely to revisit and as a result learn. So we're arguing that yes, the one of the reasons for, we're not denying that education is a purpose, but we're arguing that if the purpose is to entertain, then by default it will educate as well. Okay, let's write that actually. So if the primary purpose is to entertain, education naturally, or also learning also organically happens. Okay, let's read this back and see how we're doing. Education is one of the purposes for a museum. However, it is clear the main motivation for a museum is entertainment. Museums are family-friendly places, more often than not with free admission. This, in turn, provides families with a fun and less expensive day out, one which all the families should be able to enjoy. Let's make this smaller for everyone to enjoy. Children, for example, are more likely to have fun with the learning experience if they are entertained. That is true for adults as well. Interactive elements aid with memory and passion for a subject. For instance, the Science Museum is memorable. Memorable. We don't want to repeat ourselves too much. Is enticing, maybe, or the Science Museum is for instance, the Science Museum is which word could we use here? Particularly unique, maybe, due to this aspect. Therefore, the public is more likely to revisit and as a result learn. If the primary purpose is to entertain, learning, or maybe education also organically takes place. Okay, I think that's strong. Let's write our conclusion now and tie it all together. I can say something like overall, clearly education is one of the purposes for a museum. However, if the main focus is, and we're just going back and checking our spelling, is to provide an entertaining day out. This will create, or maybe this will lead to families returning and also learning. Okay, I think that's good. We've tied everything together there with our opinion. Okay, so let's just check the words for this one. Okay, so this is a bit of a shorter essay. We have 286 words here, but it's still over the minimum of 250, so that's okay today. Well, thank you so much for coming along. We've looked at obesity, child obesity, and museums today. So, hopefully, that's provided you with some great practice at whatever stage you're in with your IELTS journey. Let us know if you have any questions. As always, we love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time.